right. I've known you since 2020.
Yes, sir.
My first time I got to tour a yard. I'm like a kid in a candy store. My favorite thing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, like not just work-wise, but
Yeah.
just in general to do is to tour yards. Every yard I've ever toured, I take something new away.
Yeah.
They do something. I'm like, oh, that's smart. Like, why don't we do that? Like, just little things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little nuances.
Yeah,
for
little
sure.
tiny things that maybe you guys figured out over here, and then we just don't have over in Idaho, or like a new piece of equipment I never heard of, or like just. So I'm really excited. Like,
Yeah.
and I haven't even toured the yard yet. We're gonna do that after this sit down.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm meeting for everyone out there. Meeting with Jake Bronstein. You started your first scrapyard what year?
2020.
During COVID.
Yeah.
Well, that had to be challenging.
Yeah, we opened in March of 2020, and I kind of thought, what did I just do? And so the first 3 months in business was obviously pretty tough because we were...
Well, that's when it really became kind of real, right?
Yeah.
March 2020. Because I remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought, oh, 2 weeks, a month, we'll be back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know it literally took maybe 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. It's just, I hate using this term, but it's true. It is like a new normal now.
Sure.
Things are different. So you opened it probably the hardest time to open a scrapyard, and you survived it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, thanks to our partnership and our group, yeah, I mean, it was a really challenging period. But I think it also, in the backdrop, it provided us the opportunity to build the infrastructure slowly instead of being thrown to the walls.
Yeah.
So it was a slower start, but we learned, and the mistakes weren't as magnified.
So you took that obstacle
Yeah.
and you really used it as your advantage, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and at the same time, when we opened, there was so much money that was being pumped into the economy in terms of quantitative easing across the globe. So commodity prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
And just economic activity in general. So we did well. I mean, it was a huge win there was a lot of win in our sale.
So I want to go back though. So do your parents own a scrapyard?
No.
So I got into the scrap community
Right.
I met a girl I wanted to marry. I tell this story a lot, but I'll just do the real short version. I met a girl I wanted to marry.
Mm-hmm.
In 2010, there was no jobs out there really.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about United Metals because I went to school with Shannon, Brett's little sister.
Okay.
And she gave us a tip, me and my friend who desperately needed a job, that they were hiring for the pipe company. I interviewed with the pipe company, didn't get that job. My friend got it, which I was happy for him. So I was just doing side jobs, and then Brett called me finally, and I interviewed with him, and I was a can bitch. I was a can bitch for a year.
Yeah.
So like all I did. And it just opened my eyes to like such a cool, like I'm like, this industry is awesome. I didn't even know it existed.
Sure.
Never thought of it, you know?
Yeah.
So if your parents weren't in it, like Brett's a family business guy.
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
So my dad's is a futures trader, so he traded commodities and currencies. And in school, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, so I had dyslexia and ADD. And so I always liked learning by doing.
You didn't like to like sit
at
a desk?
Yeah, I needed to deal with like tangible goods, like, you know, fungible things. And I think the way in why I pursued this was to connect with my dad on a certain level.
Okay.
My dad loves work. He loves talking about markets and geopolitics.
So he likes what he does.
He loves it. Is
he still working?
Yeah. He still
great.
trades, and he absolutely loves it. He's fascinated by what he does, and I wanted to connect with him, just like just like any child with
Do you
their parent.
have a lot of memories of him working long hours?
Yeah, I remember him going, driving us to school and like calling in contracts at a clearing firm and taking positions.
Always on his phone.
Yeah, trading nickel, trading copper, trading the dollar against the euro, and like these currency swaps. I was really aware of like what moved markets at a young age. My dad would sit there, with the Barron's newspaper on Sunday morning and the New York Times, and he would read to try to understand about the world and digest it and ask questions and to try to pursue some of these questions to develop like a thesis or strategy of what's occurring. And I think so I think that's how I became aware of commodities. But there was a specific event to where I went to a scrapyard when I was 13 years old. My dad.
Where were you living?
In Chicago.
You grew up in Chicago?
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago.
You still live in Chicago?
I still live in Chicago, close to my parents.
Cool.
And I make the hillbilly commute.
Yeah, so what did you call it yesterday?
It's a hillbilly Riviera. So I go from Chicago to Merrillville, and then Merrillville to Benton Harbor.
How far away is Merrillville from Chicago?
About 45 minutes.
And that was your first yard?
Yeah.
Merrillville, Indiana.
Yeah.
And how far is Merrillville, Indiana from this yard?
It's about an hour.
Okay, not awful.
No, it made sense in terms of our supply chain and the synergies between the two facilities.
That's a good space between yards. We have 7 yards.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're about. We have 1 yard. It takes about 2 hours to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go there like once every other month, once a quarter, and it's a long day. I'll wake up early.
Right. Yeah.
But I can hit all our yards in one day if I really. It's a long day.
I'm sure.
But it's hard for me not to. If I'm already over there, I'm like, might as well just check in, check on the crew, like just make sure, like, an email and text is great, but just there's some value to just showing up in person. I think there's a ton of value of, like us. We could have done this.
Yeah.
Through Zoom.
Sure.
But it's just not the same, man. I have I'm old school, and I think the old school meeting in person has a ton of value.
Well, I mean, I think also too, it's for you, when you go to that facility, you're checking on the quality, right, of the product that's being made to make sure that's of mill specification. You're checking to ensure that there's a certain cleanliness that corresponds with your brand.
For our brand,
right? That people are, that your team is interacting with customers in a professional manner. Mm-hmm. That there isn't, cross politics in the office. Yeah. Like, there's nothing like it. And then, more importantly, to see what you have on the ground, right? To reconcile your physical inventory on a monthly basis and making sure that everything is accounted for. So I agree with you. So
you were 13, living in Chicago.
Yeah, and so I went to a yard that's no longer in existence that got bought out by a management group out of Ohio called General Iron Industries. Oh, okay. And so General Iron was a mega shredder.
Yeah.
They did 70,000 tons a month. They were...
That's, my brain can't even comprehend how many tons that really is.
Yeah. No, they're insane. It's 840,000 tons a year.
That's crazy.
And they were the dominant player, even though that Sims was in market. They really had a market share, and they drew in.
So they were buying up a lot of the smaller yards.
They weren't buying up a lot of smart. They were a single location, but what was impressive about them, what really made their business was just the logistics and access to the Chicago River by barge. Okay. So their freight cost was half that compared to a competitor, and they were really good at, I think, marketing their material and understanding the cost for their lanes. And Adam Labcon, who was the owner, whose family owned the business. That's who I met that day, and we kept in contact.
But was this like a school field trip? What was this?
No, it was a charity auction. So my dad bought it at our school, fundraiser.
So they like donated like a day.
Yeah, so General Iron did, yeah. And
good on them. That's cool. Like one
yeah.
thing that my team and us talk about is like getting more and more involved with schools.
Yeah.
And we try our best, but I think that's cool for us to get involved with schools.
And yeah, Adam was really gracious, and I just remember being there. It was in the crane, feeding the shredder on the conveyor feed. Yeah, and like all the front end loaders, of course, with him.
Was it a cable crane?
No, it was an excavator. It was It was like a I don't know. It was huge.
Big excavator.
Yeah, big excavator.
When you're
like a 2-yard grapple, enormous.
That's big.
And I think my dad really liked Adam because Adam was a young guy, hardworking on a Saturday, boots, family business, really involved in the business and was trying to scale it, right? He was trying to improve it. And if you meet Adam, Adam's the type of operator that knows his business.
Is Adam
well.
Still around?
Yeah.
Is he in the scrap game still?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And he really knew how to run that factory. There was no one better than him because he knew every part and what services he could self-perform and what his costs were. He was really aware of his fixed costs and variable costs. And one of the things that he did great at was logistics, and that he really invested in logistic capacity in order to aggregate and collect scrap. And that's why he won, is that he was the first to market to get these gondolas and the 99 cubic yard Clement and dump trailers and dominated it. I remember even in 2020 when I opened, you could call General Iron in the morning and say, hey, we need 4 trucks, and within an hour you would have 4 trucks show up.
That's pretty amazing.
And so for him, he realized not to get the demo scrap, a lot of the demo guys were running sheet iron and 50-yard boxes, so their loads weren't great. And so Adam really invested in that capacity in 89 cubic yards and up to secure that scrap. And what he did is that he placed trailers at suppliers' yards, right?
Yeah.
And you could use the trailer. There was a GPS on it, but as long as you brought the scrap to him, he would give you this asset.
So they would let the customer hook up to the trailer and deliver?
Yeah, exactly. So if you had your own power unit, you could run it, or you could stage it in, and they would come and do swaps on the trailer.
Okay.
And but that's how I got my taste for it, and I don't know why, but I just decided like that day that I was going to be in the scrap metal business.
So you knew since you were 13.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I knew it was something I wanted to do, and possibly something I could do. I wasn't sure how I was going to get there.
How old are you right now?
I'm 31. I turned 32 next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still very young, but you've known for almost 20 years.
Yeah, I had a sense of it. And it was really interesting because when you think about the scrap metal business, you can't really think about globalization without scrap metal, because the commodities flow to where there's a growth story, right?
Yeah.
China, Turkey, India, Mexico, whatever. There's a consumption story there. There's a product that's being made. There's infrastructure that's being built, and I think that's fascinating because it's the liquidity and the size of the market is so much greater than ourselves that I like the fact that I participate in this global business on a macro level. Like I'm a mid-sized dealer, right? I'm a small guy. We got 31 employees, but I'm part of something much more critical and greater than myself, and I like that.
Well, in 2020, everyone was trying to figure out who was essential. I hate that's another.
It's funny you said that. I bought a cot on Amazon, and I was ready to sleep in the plant because I lived in Chicago and my plant was in Indiana. I was like, well, fuck it, like, I gotta sleep here. I will.
And luckily, I think most states did recognize the scrap recyclers as essential, but there was a little point where we thought the state was going to shut us down because we weren't technically on the essential list, you know. So we had to go and plead our case, you know, like without us, like these manufacturers that make parts for the hospitals,
right?
It all shuts down. Like people just don't.
How critical you are in the supply chain.
Yeah, people don't understand. You know, like me in 2009, I didn't know anything about this industry, and my eyes were open wide in 2010. I'm like, holy shit.
Right, yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's
like,
big
this
business.
is crazy.
Yeah, it's big business.
When I started doing research, I got to know the industry, and what I love about it, I love talking to my customers. I love touring their plants.
Yeah.
Or their jobs, you know. I love the fact that we get so involved in so many different industries that have to recycle.
Yeah.
And that's what, so I think we're on the same page there. That's what I find so interesting is how it all works and how connected the world really is.
I love it because the industry is so pronounced here that if you're driving on 9094 or 290, 80, any of the highways, you're going to see scrap flow into the mills.
Yeah.
And you're going to see other yards servicing customers. And I'm always looking around for, you know, who's on the road and what type of trailer configurations they have and what type of equipment they've bought and how they're investing their money and what type of material they're moving and I'm really proud of the fact, like, even though it's may not necessarily be my own assets or trucks, I love seeing other people in action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love watching the freeway. We got I-84 in Idaho. That's like the main line that people drive down, and you can see anything moving. Like, and it's kind of like when you buy a new car, you start seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Now, like, I can see containers, our competitors' containers. I see loads going to, you know, maybe Oregon or down to Utah to some of the shredders, you know, and it's cool, man. Like, you know, you see like how important it is to really move it, and then as a company, how important it is for us to get our loads ready, you know, so you can jump on opportunities like when the market takes a nice little tick up, and then it, you know, you're ready to roll. So 2013, you know what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
When was the first time you worked in a scrapyard?
So that was I think 2014 or 2015.
So you were
something like that.
How old would that have made you?
Let's see, I'm 31. So it was 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And so I went to go work for a small company called Maine Scrap Metal, which is in Des Plaines, Illinois. It's no longer in existence.
Okay.
And
is there a scrapyard there anymore? Or
no,
they're not there?
They sold off all the assets and the real estate, and it was a high volume peddler yard. So we did a lot of non-ferrous base.
So no like drop boxes or trailers.
We did trailers, but no roll-offs.
No roll-offs.
I mean,
small containers.
Yeah, I mean, my knowledge base for ferrous was clean sheet iron, auto cast, and heavy iron.
Yeah.
And those were the commodities that we sold. But we didn't lay any iron on the ground. We did a lot of aluminum, primary, secondary. Different wire packages, a lot of export. So I learned how to export and put together those shipping manifests and the photo documentation, how to market the material. And really, when you go to work for a smaller company, you could have a larger work portfolio. You could take on more. And I think that's the misconception that people go into these larger, more established institutional companies and you're so pigeonholed to doing just like a singular job function that it doesn't give you the cross diversification to be truly yourself and your own brand.
Yeah.
And so like that taught me how to be an owner operator.
Awesome. So you were 25, around 25.
Yeah.
And then you worked there for how many years?
I worked there for I think 2.5 or 2.5.
So you really just probably spent those 2.5 years like just really learning the industry.
Yeah.
Did you always have an idea that you wanted to own your own scrapyard?
I wanted to either work something out with the owner to where I could buy in. He didn't have any family working in the business, so I thought there was going to be an opportunity there. But what happened was that unfortunately there was a fire that occurred, and just after that we could never really regain our footing. And
that's too bad.
And like what happens is that you start selling things for terms, and when you erode your margin, you get margin compression, and so your operating costs are the same, like the same fixed operating costs.
You're making less money.
Right, you're exactly. Yeah. So your revenues go down, but your operating costs maintain the same, and I was frustrated with the situation. I think as a young person, I probably could have done a better job of handling it and working it through. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there was a certain way that he wanted to run the business, and that was his business. But even afterwards, he actually passed. But as I was building Merrillville,
he passed during that.
Yeah.
Did you guys stay in touch?
Yeah, yeah.
That's too bad.
He was like a dad to me. Like I would text him "I love you" on
Father's Day.
Yeah, Father's Day or like his birthday. I mean, the last text message was on his birthday, and I expressed my feelings towards him. Going to his funeral, I learned how proud he was of me, of like what I was doing, what I was trying to pursue.
He's probably still proud of you, man.
Yeah, no, he was great, man. He was. You could say what you want about him, but he really knew how to run a yard.
Yeah.
He really knew his chemistries in the nickel ferro alloys.
Because you see a lot of those over here, right? What? You see a lot of those nickel products.
Yeah, you do.
We don't see a lot of that back home. Right. We see your
people treat their own metals, right? So people have furnaces, whether they're die casters or things of that nature. But people are treating metal over here, so you get like the 3515s, which are like the baskets.
Yeah.
They're Inconels.
We just don't see much of that back in Idaho. We see your normal players 304, 316.
You have a good like aerospace and defense.
Yeah.
Manufacturing cluster here in Michigan. But that's the one thing I like. In order to learn, like I would have to stay late at night because that was the only time he had.
Because you had to do your normal job.
Right, but like in order to really learn about how to make a pack.
Did he pay you to come in late, or that's your time?
No.
So you put in the time.
Yeah, I would stay till like we would get dinner at like 10:30 at night, and then we would go back to work. And he was just an animal. I mean, he loved to work. He was probably the worst forklift operator I've ever seen in my life. Tipped over more forklifts and ruined more equipment than he cares to admit. But he liked being in his facility.
He liked to get his hands dirty.
Yeah, he wanted to feel connected to his operation. And, it was funny. Like, he would think he would be some type of genius because he would shift the boxes from the left to the right and would rearrange the yard to gain some type of efficiency or to gain some throughput.
Maybe move a scale.
And you're just like, what's the purpose of this? Like, you come in the next morning, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could have met him. I mean, I'm sure you... So I think that's the secret for anyone out there listening that wants to build a career in any industry. You gotta be willing to get, not do the extra work and not get paid for it.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do. I had to put in the time. I had to learn it. I had to go. I would just ask a lot of questions. And I was blessed to have management above me at the time.
Yeah.
That was willing to teach me.
If you want things you've never had before, you have to do things you've never done before. Yeah. And I always look for the individual that's going to stay late after work and talk to me.
It means a lot to me.
I'm never going to say, like, hey, I got to go, or, and I'm late for this. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm here to teach because that was what was taught to me. And I think you absolutely need mentorship within this industry. And I think just apprenticeship in this country is lacking.
Yes.
Of just showing how to degrade. If you learn a vocation, you can monetize that. If you learn a skill set, that's something that you could take with you the rest of your life. And being in this business, there's a lot of proprietary knowledge that's learned, right, through experience. But it's something that's not public. I mean, you could read about heavy melt and copper. Like, there's nothing like being involved in a recycling operation at a yard.
And I've noticed in this industry, though, there's a lot of people that won't share information with you.
Yeah.
Especially some old timers might look at you as like a threat.
Yeah.
So I always promised myself I would never turn into that guy.
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out how to train the next group, because like I want them to do like what I do.
Right.
So I can keep helping grow the company.
Yeah.
So I think it's shifting. I think it's really shifting. That's why I like to do these podcasts, to bring awareness to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you open in 2020, open your yard.
Yeah.
When did you get Benton Harbor under your belt?
December of 2022.
So fairly fresh.
Yeah.
Did you find anything interesting having 2 yards? Anything you didn't expect? Anything?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the not of course, but it's always easier said than done, and it's one thing to be, I think, young, ambitious, and somewhat naive, is that you don't have a lot of fear.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at downside risk as much as someone that's older.
Yeah.
Because I don't have as much to lose, right? I can make it back in my lifetime. I'm not afraid of going to zero.
You can take risk that a 60-year-old guy couldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just as you know, it's just my dog and I, and he comes to work with me every Panda comes to work with me every day, and
I wish Panda was here.
I know, he's with his baby.
Next time I see you, I want to see
Absolutely.
Panda. Yeah.
And him and I, along with everyone else, built this business together.
And you seem like you have a really great team. I've only met a handful of them.
Yeah.
But you seem like you are a good leader. It seems like the people want to learn. They're eager to be here. And like I say this on social media a lot, but culture over everything.
Yeah.
Culture is the number one most important thing to myself. I'm always like looking at our culture. How can we make it better?
Yeah.
Is there anyone out there that's hurting our culture? Is there anyone like any way can we make it better so we can? I want people to like coming to work. I know it's
100%. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I know I love going to work.
Right.
I'm not asking people to like it as much as me, because I'm a weirdo. But I want them to not be like, when I walk by a guy and it looks like he shot his dog the day before, I'm like, what's wrong, man?
Yeah.
I flat out told our employees that I can tell hate it. I'm like, hey, man, like, I don't want you to work here if you hate working here.
Yeah, I have those same conversations. If it's like pulling teeth, then it's time for you to find something else.
Because you're doing them a disservice to have them be that miserable. Maybe they'll find their passion at the next industry they work in.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes, an exit's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for us, one of the challenges when buying a company, and you guys have gone through acquisitions too, is merging cultures and getting rid of toxicity in the workplace and bad habits. Not to say that there was, but it's just not the same. And you need to standardize things.
You need to align it.
Right, we need to commoditize it. We need everyone on the same playing field. And our values need to align. It's like having a partner, right? If you don't have the same values, it's not going to work out. So getting our systems in place and our values in place has been the most work in like cleaning up the yard in terms of organizing it so that we can make the necessary infrastructure investments in equipment and technology. Mm-hmm. But until we know what that baseline is, it's really hard to go through with it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are quick to pull the trigger on, say a new equipment purchase or so forth. Until you really find what your baseline operating level is in terms of your variable cost versus your fixed cost, I don't recommend doing so. I mean, find these things on your balance sheet, on your P&L that piss you off, whether it be your inventory turnover ratio or your carry or your rolling inventory. Maybe especially here in Michigan, I mean, you could haul heavier loads. So maybe your freight costs could be cut in half because you can invest in specific axle configurations that will allow you to haul heavier payloads. Like, find those inefficiencies and create a plan, and go after low-hanging fruit. And it's a lot of work. This isn't like...
It doesn't happen like
It doesn't happen like this. And you guys know that, like, to really realize, like, the cost benefits and the synergies through, like, a planned acquisition, it's not something that happens in 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
This isn't like get rich quick.
I wish it could happen that quick. I really do. But we've opened some yards from scratch.
Right.
We've acquired some that were existing. But most of ours, we've been lucky to build from scratch.
Yeah.
The brunt of
Greenfield them.
Yeah, but the ones you do have to align your culture, that takes, in all reality, it takes years to get it right.
Yeah.
You just try to get better every day. You try to, like, identify as management what we're doing wrong and how to make everyone better.
I think that's why you need really good financials, and that's something that, like, our partnership group has really focused on is, like, good financials, good financial reporting. So that way we can develop key metrics that we think are important for the business.
Then you can really go hard at a job, or
exactly.
Hard at a customer.
Why is my maintenance cost X amount? Or, like, why is transportation up? Or, like, you start seeing things that are out of whack, and hopefully it pisses you off enough where you want to attack it.
What's in store for the future for you guys?
For our business,
for your businesses.
Well, we're going to continue to expand.
Are you going to keep looking for new opportunity to put a yard in?
Yeah, whether it be horizontal or vertical, vertical investments, or building out new recycling streams, or buying another facility. We're in it to grow. I think with this yard, we're going to bring it up to our standard in terms of what's representative and what correlates to our brand. So we need to do a lot of infrastructure work. We need to lay down concrete. We need to fix some of the warehousing infrastructure, and then invest in mechanized processing equipment that will allow us to be cost efficient and move inventory. And that's the way to compete. And we're here to compete. At the end of the day, we're forward looking. I think as a group, we all want to grow, and we're bought into the program. And this is how we provide for all of our families. So there's 31 of us that work here, and it's in our best interest to see this through.
Well, I'm excited to watch you grow. I really enjoy talking to you and, like, learning from you, and hopefully vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, we love to share information. We're not competition. I'm in Idaho, you know? But if I can help you, or vice versa, I'm like, hey man, do you have that, like, cost sheet? Like, how did you calculate those costs? Because that's something that we're looking at too. We're trying to make better SOPs, better cost analysis, so we can take a real hard, aggressive look at things and, like, just be better.
Yeah.
Because I never want to get complacent and ever say, that's just how we do it.
Right. No. And I think that's how you die. I think, having, collectively all of us, the way this I think will work as a co-op is that we could learn from each other and learn best practices and learn how to think about things and challenge each other in terms of our thought ideas.
Where do you send your stainless? Where do you send your copper? Maybe we can build more. That's the number one thing that we've seen on our big social media push. We really went hard at it 2019 and currently.
Right.
We've, like, 3x'd our consumer list because the relationships Brett's made. And it's just out there meeting people. Dude, and there's so many good people out there. Like, I always say this to Brett, like, my biggest weakness is probably my optimism. Yeah. But I like it. Like, I'm so optimistic. I'm like, oh yeah, I think we got that account. And I'm like...
You have to believe in it. You have to have hope. You have to have hope to move forward and to motivate you to proceed into the next day. But I think, first and foremost, I hope that we could learn from each other and learn best practices, because none of us have it all figured out. No. I certainly don't have the monopoly on good ideas. I don't think you do either.
No, I don't.
But
I got a lot of bad ideas.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I do as well. Usually my first original thought's a bad idea. But I think collectively as a group we could grow further.
And that's where I want to build a community where we can ping ideas off each other. Hey, have you guys tried this? I'll be like, dude, we tried that and it fucking failed. Like, maybe you can figure it out. And if you do, let me know.
And it's like, even in market, I talk to people and like that are direct competitors. And maybe sometimes I say more than I should, but I am more than willing to share what I know.
That's good, because I catch myself being uber competitive, right. Maybe too competitive.
Yeah.
And it's just like how I'm built. But I have some of our competitors. I have their cell phones.
Number. One of my really good friends in the business is a direct competitor, Josh Padnos, and we talk all the time, and we do cross business. And
there's enough out there for us all to live.
Right. Exactly.
And that's one thing that we have to remember. We don't have to. I don't want anyone to go hungry.
Yeah.
I want us all to live. We're all doing the same shit. You know, we do it different. That's why we're different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can live together and work together and try to help each other where it makes sense,
I
think it's a beautiful thing. It's like, and I think the scrap community, the recycled community, is a really cool community, man. Like, I met so many cool people.
Yeah.
All right. So you said if you die tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know who I would talk to. All my friends are in the scrap metal business.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy talking about, and I enjoy connecting with other operators within our industry, because it's a shared experience. And we might be at different places, but everyone has gone through similar situations.
Oh yeah.
The ebbs and flows of the business, and
we all have the same trials and tribulations.
Right, and it's relatable, and so, I really love our industry because of the people and how diverse and multifaceted it is. You're in the car a lot too. There's a lot of windshield time. The car is my time to talk to everyone. So.
I call so many people when I'm in the car. It's hard for me. I call so many people, and they call me. That it's really hard for me to even listen to books on tape.
Yeah.
Because I just get interrupted too much.
Yes.
But I'm always looking for time hacks. One of my time hacks is, like, if I've got to commute roughly hour and a half every day, that's an hour and a half I could at least be networking.
Yeah.
And I'll call some of my, like, friends. I'm still close to some of my friends too, so I'll keep because, like, I'm just a relationship guy. Like, I love having healthy, good relationships, and I love meeting new people. And I've got some of the cool relationships are all because of scrap.
Yeah.
And I never want that to go away. I want to bring more people in to our community so I can meet people I want to have a cool contact in every state where we can really, really build something beautiful together. And I think we're on the way. You're, Recycled Idaho, Recycled Indiana.
Yeah, there's a good nexus there.
And it's gonna keep going, man. We're gonna keep adding state after state after state. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go tour the yard.
All right, cool, bro.
Thanks.